Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I'm just sitting here drinking my morning coffee, getting ready to get my day started. I have to throw a bunch of chicken and potatoes in the oven. Get that cooked, get ready to squat. James Tiny Vest did a video, I guess yesterday or the day before, and I actually had a subscriber ask me would I go watch the video and give my opinion on it. Because he said, James said the only thing you really need for your back is the deadlift. Well, it's not actually really what he said. I went and watched the video because that piqued my curiosity because I made a video yesterday talking about some of the drawbacks for hypertrophy on the deadlift. Even though I've used the deadlift for that myself personally. Deadlift is my favorite exercise. So I went and checked it out and I watched what he had to say. Truth be told, I don't think what he said was really unreasonable. I don't think it was unreasonable. Because he basically said the deadlift should be the foundation of your back training. Now, he was talking about a back day and everything, and you guys know I'm not a big fan of body part splits. But what he said was that the other stuff you do doesn't really matter. You're just pumping blood or whatever after that. We're not really pumping blood. That's not really what's happening from a physiology perspective, but there's certainly some truth to that statement that can you build a pretty big back doing nothing but deadlifts? Yeah, it's absolutely possible. Is it going to be the biggest you could possibly have it, particularly your lats? No, probably not. But is it going to be big enough that most people would probably be happy with their back? Yeah, because the average guy out there is not trying to look like he can take off with wings. Like in my case, I think people, again, have been a little shocked when Brittany puts up photos of my back and says, well, wow, your back is definitely your biggest body part. That's ultimately because I've always focused heavy on deadlifts because of the powerlifting background. That has made an enormous difference. And as far as him talking about coming into deadlifting for an hour, controversial topic, but you guys have seen me do that, haven't you? Not the way James did it, but I think the idea here is the same. Last year, what was I doing on camera? I was coming in and deadlifting for an hour once a week. He's saying in the video, come in and deadlift for an hour straight. It actually works, but like with me, I did a lot of that. I did switch back over to conventional eventually, but for quite a long block of that, I was doing deficit deadlifts because I've told you guys deficit deadlifts are better for hypertrophy than your conventional deadlift. They are. Dr. Mike Israetel came in and explained that deficit deadlifts and snatch grip deadlifts, if hypertrophy is your goal, are probably superior. Or he didn't even say probably, he said they flat out were superior for size. If size is your primary goal, to doing your conventional deadlifts. And I don't think that's unreasonable. That's what I did. But I've also done that with conventional deadlifts. It works. You'll absolutely stimulate a lot of growth. You'll stimulate growth through your entire back, your traps, your lats, your erectors, your glutes, hamstrings. Everything on the backside is going to grow from that. Particularly that sort of volume. Even if you're coming in doing 7, 8, or 10 sets of 3, kind of what I did, you're going to stimulate an enormous amount of growth. The only downside comes to the recovery end. It comes down to the recovery end of it. Because I can tell you right now, you're not going to train every day if you do that. Because I always needed a day off. What would happen for me, even if I came in and tried to do a bench press day, the next day immediately after doing that, a lot of times I was weaker. It's extremely difficult to train in a subsequent day. If you come in and you do multiple sets like that, again, you come in and you deadlift for an hour straight, your recovery is going to be shot. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I've advocated it. I've actually advocated it on this channel to come in and do that sort of approach, particularly for what I call lift mastery type phases, where you have a movement pattern split. I don't think it's unreasonable to come in and do 7 to 10 sets of deadlift in one day. You will grow from that. However, if you think you're going to come in and lift anything serious the next day, you can forget that. It's not going to happen. You're going to be devastated. In fact, like what I would find, I couldn't do anything after that. There are days when I would come in and do that, then I would come home and have 30 minutes, 40 minutes to recover from doing that and try to do a chin-up, and I couldn't even do one body weight chin-up. Fresh, I was able to do like 12 from a dead hang at the time. But after doing that, I couldn't do a single chin-up. And even sometimes the next day, my strength would have been shot on any exercise that involved gripping a bar, any exercise that involved the back, the legs. I just couldn't do them. it destroys your recovery. So there's certainly nothing wrong with that approach as long as you go into it with the understanding that that will probably be the single most taxing workout that you do in any given week. If you do something like that, you are not going to be able to train the next day unless you're blasting grams of gear. And if you do train, it's going to be ultra light. You're not going to be able to come in on the next day and do anything. You are going to need that recovery. You're going to feel like crap the next day. You're probably going to hurt. So it works. And I'm not going to argue and say that what he said won't work, because I know it works. In that particular case, yeah, to come in and deadlift for an hour, it works. And then, like he said, it doesn't really matter what you do after that. And that's the interesting point. We could argue that the deadlift is not the best tool for hypertrophy. But the back is also, in my experience, if you deadlift, the back is really easy to develop. Like I'm always laugh and I'm shocked at anyone who struggles with their back development who doesn't have a really big back. And it's simply because the way they train their back is usually lazy. They honestly think coming in and doing some partials on pull-ups, half reps on pull-ups, and then some lat pull-downs is going to work, and then they wonder why they have no back. Whereas, and I would tell most people, if you just want a decent sized back, you probably don't need to do any rows, chin-ups, pull-ups, lat pull-downs. You can get all that with deadlifts because of the carryover from your other lifts. If you're also doing standing presses, if you're doing weighted dips, things like that, you're squatting. Because, again, people don't grasp it. They can argue it all they want, but if you look at the way the thoracic-lumbar sling works and radiant effect, even squats will grow your lats to some extent. Deadlifts do grow your lats. They won't maximize your lat potential, but here's what it comes down to. It depends on what sort of size you're trying to put on. But if you're deadlifting heavy, you're going to have decent back development, even if you are doing no other back work. Yeah, that's true. Like at least direct lat work. But what I would say, of course, guys who want big arms, unless you want to do 37 sets of curls every week, you're going to need to do weighted chin-ups and stuff like that. There's kind of your winning combination. If you get really strong on the deadlift and you get really strong on either something like the weighted chin-up or some sort of row, that's probably all you need to have your back become your dominant body part. You do that for several years and you build a really solid base. You get to where you can do reps with 500 pounds on the conventional deadlift. You get to where you can do weighted chins with any substantial amount of weight, or pendlay rows with any substantial amount of weight. Combined with that, yeah, your back is going to be very big. Big enough that a lot of other people, a lot of these bodybuilders who are doing a lot of fluff and pump for their back, are going to start asking you, what are you doing for your back? So I do agree, deadlifts can be the foundation of your back training. Probably not the only thing you want to do, but it also depends on how big of a back you're trying to get. A lot of guys don't necessarily want an enormous back. They just want a good sized back. And if that's all you're trying to do, deadlifts will get you there. But again, I feel stuff like the chin up is such a valuable exercise that you really need to be doing chins also, in which case those two exercises is probably all you need in conjunction with all the other training. Because if you're doing all the big lifts, or what I call the big five, which, squat, bench, deadlift, standing press, weighted chin-ups. If you're doing all those exercises and you build a base on those, your back is going to be well developed and big. It's pretty much impossible for it not to be. Pretty much impossible. So, all of that being said, I think there's certainly a degree of truth to what James is saying there. And I know we kind of come from different worlds. He's more of the pro bodybuilding world and everything. But in this case, I am going to agree. I mean, I like the idea of the deadlift being the foundation for your back development. I don't think it's everything you need. But it will build one hell of a base, and it does work the entire back. It will stimulate growth in every muscle in your back, including the lats. There's plenty of EMG data even to suggest that. There's plenty of anecdotal evidence of taking kids and having them squat and deadlift and seeing their lats grow from that alone. It's all been observed. There's anecdote, there's scientific evidence of it. At this point, people who are arguing against it literally have no experience around training, who are saying that the deadlift will not cause your lats to grow. It absolutely will. And it'll grow everything from your traps, erectors, everything else. So yeah, it will build a good foundation in your back. So again, a statement like, in his opinion, and that's what we're coming down to, opinion, that the deadlift should be the foundation of your back training. I don't necessarily know that it should be. I'm not saying that it should be or it has to be. but it's a good way to go. It will certainly work. And it's a totally reasonable opinion to have. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.